Don't do the ready, fire, aim that so many people do. Be thoughtful about architecting your plan before you go to build it. Layer on top of that, what are all these things I can do now in the digital world that I couldn't do in the analog world? Because that's going to materially change your workflow and the way you think about business.
Hello, my name is Jason Reichl, and you're listening to Risk Management Brick by Brick. I'm fascinated with people who are helping build and maintain the physical world around us. On each episode of this podcast, we'll dive in with a risk manager, speak to them about how technology plays a role in this process.
Welcome back to an episode of Brick by Brick, live from ITC. Today we have Todd Greenbaum, CEO of Input One. You've been there a long time. I'm going to pass him just in a second to give an introduction because he does a lot. Why don't we just clue everyone in on all the shit you do?
Okay.
Because it's a lot.
Great. Well, do you want me to introduce myself first? Okay, great. I'm Todd Greenbaum. I'm the CEO of Input One. Input One's been around for about 41 years, and I've been there for about 40 of them. It was a family business, and so I'll spare you the long story there. But Input One has developed a platform and a methodology to manage all inbound premiums for insurance carriers, MGAs, or agents.
Okay.
And what I mean by that specifically is that there's three modalities of payment in the insurance business. You pay in full, you use an installment plan, or you finance. We're the only company that actually built a platform that handles all of them without having to have partners to do it. We did it all ourselves.
So that allows the carrier to give different modes to the customer that works for their business and the risk of that business. Is that the idea behind it?
It provides optionality for the policyholder and the agent because sometimes the different stakeholders in the insurance transaction want to set up different types of ways that payments can be made.
I love this concept. I come from a tech background focused on payments. So I was the product manager for a procurement software company. And one of the things that we found in payments is giving optionality to the GC, as an example, was a big mover for that. Do you find in the carrier broker space, this is a very big value differentiator, or are you going straight to the insured and giving them options to pay the carrier broker and so on? Who's the partner there? Who's using the platform?
Well, ultimately, our customer is the carrier or the MGA or the agent, right? So they're the ones that are making the decision. But the benefactor of that ultimately is the policyholder.
Yeah.
I mean, I always talk about the fact that, people wouldn't sell somebody $1,500 iPhones if you had to pay $1,500 for them. The reason that they sell someone is because you pay for them $30 a month.
Right.
So the same concept applies to insurance and many other types of products.
I love that because two things that it brings into focus for me is I think carriers need to be more customer-centric and be able to provide technology and tools for the actual insured. And I also think optionality for businesses when, we are in a time when the stability of most businesses are not 100%, right? There's ups and downs and peaks and valleys. So I like that you really do that. Let's get into it then. So let's talk about operational risks tied to outdated billing and payment systems. From your perspective, how does modernizing premium billing reduce the risk while improving efficiency?
Well, listen, if you think about payments being disconnected from the system and paper or manual or analog as opposed to digital, payments can get lost, payments can get misapplied, payments can be delayed. And in the insurance business, that's particularly concerning because if you miss a payment or it's not applied correctly, you can cancel an insurance policy. Plus also, there's that whole issue of making sure that the payment information is remaining encrypted and private. Yeah. When you digitize that entire process, the money gets to where it needs to get, when it needs to get there, to ensure that the policyholder has the coverage that they intended to have, and you're protecting the payment information of the payer at the same time. So all of those issues get solved.
So that makes total sense to me. My real question, and I asked this to everybody doing tech and insurance, how do you deal with the fact that in insurance, people struggle to move from a legacy way of doing things into a more modern format? How are you trying to solve that problem?
Well, you solve it by we can and have many times connected our system to legacy systems when there is a very definite need for the carrier to keep that system. But the question is do they need to keep that system, and are they holding on to it for reasons that they shouldn't? And so we do integrate with newer platforms as well, but you need to be able to do both because sometimes that transition needs to take time. They transition parts of their legacy operation 2 new formats of software, and sometimes it takes longer. We need to be able to integrate with all of it so that we can help them with that journey to get to the point of final digitization where they need to be.
Let's answer a question that would be on any builder's mind who is at ITC when they hear that, which it goes, okay, that makes sense. Carriers often don't have the resources to do that work on their own, API connections or legacy files, probably flat files, right, is how that has to work.
Right.
How have you solved that problem with carriers to help enable them? Are you doing the implementations for them, or are you working directly with their IT team? Or it's probably a mix, but what is your preferred
We
method?
find that the more we can be involved in the solutioning aspect of that journey, the more effective the final outcome will be. So we don't just take here's our software, figure out how to talk to us. We will sit down and analyze their current workflows, their current systems. How are we going to traverse this gap now and get you over to this way? And a lot of it has to do with sometimes they can get the data that far, and we need to come all the way.
Yeah.
So our APIs are modifiable and configurable and really customizable so that we can grab whatever data they can give to us.
So you have like general APIs and you put a client over it.
I've
for
heard
each
that they're
person.
called accelerators, where you have an API and then you can extend, you can kind of increase the effectiveness of that API to
to a
bridge that
specific
gap.
customer. Yeah.
So we do that all the time.
That's great. Can you share some examples, some like true win stories from like when this has reduced risk or really helped the business?
I mean, we do this all the time with carriers and MGAs. They come up with a product and they can bill it. They have a credit card. They have a credit card servicer they're working with, and they have a one-pay plan. And they're trying to launch a product. Well, as I told you about the Apple iPhone, I mean, if you can't provide a payment modality
Gateway for
them,
everyone, you're going to narrow your focus.
That's correct. So the primary delivery here is the value proposition is that we can open them up to a broader universe of policyholders that will buy their products if they can pay for the insurance in chunks, right?
So is it like if you were on the outside, would you be like, oh, it's like Clara or a firm for that buying, or is there something obviously it's much more complex in insurance, but if you were just out there telling a layman, is that a good way for?
I mean, generally speaking, I would say that's the case, but we do try to be very bespoke about the manner in which the payment plans are orchestrated. So there are times when we're going out 9, 10, 11, 12 installments, as opposed to now some of the buy now, pay later,
it's
which
not
is
commercial.
4Pay or something like that.
It works for the business itself.
Yeah, so the longer you can make the installment plan, of course, you can't make it longer than a year because the product is only being purchased for a year traditionally.
Yeah.
But the longer you can make that and the lower you can make each periodic installment, we tend to find that carriers have more success.
I like that. That is really, really smart. I've had a lot of different businesses on the podcast that talk about the difficulty of buying insurance and staying on top of it when sometimes the person who pays for the insurance or decides the insurance, within an organization is not the same person paying the premiums, is not the same person that then gets the notification when something happens and so it's a very complex process. What kind of automations do people need to do on, like when you're working with carriers and MGAs, what kind of automation flags do you send? Like what are some very useful things that this enables that it wasn't? So modality of selling is one, but operationally, how does it help these businesses?
Well, the exchange of information on policy numbers and any type of endorsement information that can be digitally exchanged back and forth is really, really important. Communication of customer preferences back and forth is very important. The ability for customers, in our banks, we can go say, send me that notice by mail, send me that notification by text, that notification by email. That's really important too. So all those types of things allow an overhead reduction on the same policyholder portfolio. And that's really important too. There's got to be serious value in this because they need to be able to be as competitive as possible so they could charge as less as they can out with premiums so that they can acquire more business.
Absolutely. Are there pitfalls insurers should avoid when implementing automation at scale? This is just a general question.
The primary one is to don't just duplicate the workflows you already have, because then you're going to create poor automation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what you need to do is, and we help them with this because that kind of operational discipline is one of the most important things in that digitization journey.
Yeah.
So we take time with our carrier customers and partners, and okay, do you need to do this? You've always done it. Every time we hear, we've always done it that way. Okay, that's where we take the sledgehammer, we break that up, and we say, do we really need to do it that way?
Yeah.
And
Let's question the base reality here.
That's right. And the more you do that, and they come away with this epiphany. My God, we've been doing all of these things just because we inherited them from the past.
Yeah.
And we need to stop doing that. And so there's a lot of flexibility in there, but sometimes you have to shake them a little bit to make sure that they absorb that.
I think anyone listening to this, and this is one thing that I would say about that's different about InsurTech versus big tech, where I worked with the Salesforces of the world, that kind of thing, which is you can't really be a successful InsurTech or technology platform here if you're not willing to consult with the industry. Can we talk about how you manage the technology piece versus this? You keep mentioning, when we didn't say it outright, that you must have a consultative element to this too if you are helping them redesign processes, those kind of things. So how do you balance that as a CEO? How do you view yourself? Are you a consultant? Are you a tech product? How is your mindset work there?
Well, the first thing I do is I ask myself that all the time. And we have to constantly balance it. So we do have a team of technologists that are there to build the architecture. But I like to look at it this way. In building a home or building a building, you have an architect and you have a contractor.
Right.
The architect draws the blueprint, the contractor builds to the spec.
Yeah.
So we must have the blueprint in place, properly done, before you go to the general contractor to build what you're actually building. So we make it a point to divide those two up, and we're very disciplined and very deliberate about the building of that blueprint and making sure that it's right with the customer before we take it over to the actual technologists to go build it.
Do you feel like a lot of InsurTech technology, they are good at one of those things, but they don't understand the dual modality of operational excellence in both of those areas, and treating them as probably two separate businesses in your mind that you have to manage, but are synergy, have synergy between each other? I love that analogy, by the way. I'm gonna steal that. So
yeah. So I mean, look, I think that by their very nature, technologists want to create great things, but the forethought that goes into the creation of things, it's maybe it doesn't come natural to them.
Yeah.
So I do believe that that's the case. I mean, I think the more successful companies have great solutioning and great building.
Yeah.
But not everybody sees it that way and realizes that if you're gonna come into a marketplace that is that is laden with all of these legacy thinking and legacy workflows and legacy systems, if you really want to digitize it properly, you have to do both.
Yeah. Legacy investment too. I mean, these companies are still trying to recognize investments that they made.
There's so much tech debt, it's
2000,
unbelievable. Yeah.
Looking ahead, where are you guys going to be in a year from? If we have this show a year from now, where is Input One going to be a year from now?
Well, what we're focusing on right now is broadening our strategic relationships with agency management systems and with carrier core systems, because we'll be able to deliver our product more cohesively to a larger population of people. That's where we're looking a lot at right now. But look, we're always looking into, we're constantly weaving more elements of artificial intelligence into our operation. We're doing it responsibly. We're doing it transparently. That's important. Real-time payments are another area, which are particularly important for insurance as opposed to other types of purchases that people make. So we're juggling a lot of them. There's always more things to consider.
So you're going to offer a real-time payment for a discount, like someone will say, hey, I need this money now, and you'll be able to issue that. Is that what you mean by real-time payment for you guys, or what do you mean by real-time payment?
Well, what I mean is that we want to, in insurance, there are consequences to not making that payment.
Yeah,
right. If I don't pay my credit, if I pay my credit card late,
$30.
Yeah, right. But if you don't pay your insurance and you're canceled and you have a claim, you're in a whole
And the reinstatement is nuts.
And sometimes you may not even be able to secure it.
Yeah.
So getting those payments really strict and nailed down is really important. So that's something that we're looking very, very closely at.
Let's since you work with brokers, we work with a lot of brokers at TrustLayer. What's your prediction on how all this technology, artificial intelligence, is going to change the broker game, the relationship to the broker to the insured? What would you like to see?
Brokers typically don't have the economics to do that technological lift. So to the extent that we can deliver better technology to the carriers and the MGAs and build and make more robust agency portals, which the agencies then can deliver to those policyholders, I think that the carriers and the MGAs will be partners with respect to brokers delivering better technology. So I think that's an element of it.
Yeah, it gives more options to their insured as well that they represent.
We also build technology that allows white labeling, so agencies can white label our products, and therefore they don't have to go back and build them.
I love that. I'm always about the good white label. What will companies like Input One play in shaping the new payments ecosystem? Who are your peers, and who's doing a good job besides Input One? Like, is it a category yet? Is it just, optionality? Where's Input One in all of this?
Oh, in terms of insurance payments?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. We have a lot of fantastic competitors. One Inc. and ePay Policy and Paymentus and Invoice Cloud. These are all wonderful companies.
So what makes Input One different?
What our primary difference is that nobody else offers all payment modalities, right? So I feel that, as I told you before, the more optionality you provide in payments, the greater the cohort you are going to be able to sell your products to.
Right, absolutely.
And so, and it's not just the policyholder that makes those decisions, the agents do as well. So when you can provide seamlessly full digital payment upfront, do an installment plan or a financing plan, that is superbly unique. We're the only ones that do that. And by doing that, we find that when we talk to carriers or MGAs that are looking to digitize their process, yeah, they can go to a payments provider.
Yeah.
They can go to a finance company. But where can you go to be
That
able to
orchestration
run your
layer.
entire thing?
Yeah, right.
And that's really magical. And it's really something that resonates very deeply with our customers.
Over the 40-year journey, because I don't talk to many CEOs who have been in a position at a company for 40 years. What are some big lessons learned that you bring to the community, or that you really feel like people need to hear when they're doing anything technology related inside of this world that we're in?
Well, at the lack of sound of repeating myself, it's back to that think before you go, right? Don't do the ready, fire, aim that so many people do. Be thoughtful about architecting your plan before you go to build it. We're all so excited and desirous of hitting that end game, of getting to that digital panacea.
Yeah, right.
It draws you in and you're excited about it. But the boring, more kind of tough part is the solutioning of that.
Yeah.
So when you think about where you want to be, think about where you are and what can be fixed and modified. And then you have to layer on top of that. What are all these things I can do now in the digital world that I couldn't do in the analog world?
Yeah, right.
Because that's going to materially change your workflow and the way you think about business. All of that goes into solutioning. If you do that well, presuming that you have a good set of architects, or actually a good set of developers, which most people do, then you're going to come up with the right product. The cost of not doing that is going to be that you're going to build something and it might only achieve 70% of what you want, but you've spent 100% of your money on what should have been a much better solution.
Yeah. I've seen just such change in the way that companies who want to sell technology in the insurance industry have moved away from the disrupt at all cost sort of mindset and more into, we need to enable and transform, these processes. We need to understand that. So, I'm just tremendously impressed by the thing, because in all of my past careers in tech, modality of payment is a great unlock. So it really is meaningful to the industry. So I really appreciate you. One last question. Someone coming into the industry, where would you point them, right? What kind of career would you point them in, and what advice would you give them to have a long career in this industry?
Well, presuming that we're talking about being an insurance technologist, right?
Yeah.
What I would say is this is a very exciting time because this world is opening up and it's still early stages in the digital transformation process. Pick something that you really can find disruptive. Pick something that is going to make a difference and focus on that, because you walk through these hallways with the thousands of hundreds of booths, whatever it is, you can get so distracted. So, I just find that there are so many things in the insurance transaction process that you kind of scratch your head and go, why are we doing that? Or why is it so complicated to get this done? Find something that's really frustrating, fix it, and focus on that.
So I'm going back to you, just paraphrasing you, find something and stick to it and solve the problem.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I love that advice. No one ever talks about be dogged.
Yeah.
And I think that's good advice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Enjoyed it.
Risk Management Brick by Brick is brought to you by TrustLayer. Find out how TrustLayer manages risk so that the people can build the physical world around us. Head over to trustlayer.io. And then make sure to subscribe to Risk Management Brick by Brick on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. On behalf of the TrustLayer team, thank you for listening.